Hello everyone, it is Gweneviere. I had the opportunity to see an early screening of Smile, courtesy of Paramount Pictures. Smile was the first screening for Beyond Fest 2022, and there was a lot more fanfare than I have ever seen at any of these early screenings before. The entire cast of Smile was there that night. They took photos, they signed people's posters. Before the film began, Parker Finn and Sosie Bacon, who played Dr. Rose Cotter, came before the crowd and said hello to everyone and thanked everyone for coming in. The past couple of days, this film has really been on my mind, and I would say that the more I think about it, the more I appreciate it and the more I uncover things that happen within the narrative that I'm like, oh yeah, I didn't really catch that in the theater, or I don't think I appreciated it the way that I should in the theater, but that was actually really interesting. That was pretty good. And that's always really cool. I love a movie that sticks with you for a while and makes you think a lot about. I feel like that's just a big part of the fun, especially with horror films. So now let's get into the review. Devoted psychiatrist Dr. Rose Cotter starts experiencing frightening occurrences that she can't explain after witnessing a bizarre and traumatic incident involving a patient. As an overwhelming terror begins taking over her life, Rose seeks to understand what caused the traumatic incident and what witnessing it means for herself. So this is the first feature film by Parker Finn, and I have to say, if this is his debut, then what a debut. This was a much better film than I was honestly expecting it to be, simply because I honestly wasn't really sure what to make of the trailer. I absolutely loved the last 10 seconds or so of the trailer, but overall I was a little concerned that this movie was going to be a pretty typical run-of-the-mill horror movie. This is a film that feels very much like The Ring or It Follows. During the Q&A, Parker Finn did say that this movie is a love letter to those kinds of films, and it completely translates in this movie. It definitely feels like a movie of that subgenre, of that flavor, and there's a point that is excellent if that's the kind of movie that you like, but then there's also a point that it doesn't really do anything brand new. That being said, I don't think that is necessary. Considering this is what he wanted to do with the film, he wanted it to be a love letter to these kinds of movies, it was incredibly effective. I did see some early reviews saying that this was jump scare the movie, and there's a point that I would agree with that, but I am somebody that really doesn't enjoy jump scares very much. Like I've said, I feel that they can be very effective or very cheap, and I just am generally not the biggest fan of them, but this is a film that does them quite well. They are often not what they seem, or there are layers to what is going on in the scare or in the narrative, and overall I found it to be very entertaining and did not ruin the experience for me. I mean, if anything, I am the exact person that would hate a movie that is all jump scares, but there were tons of them and I enjoyed a lot of them. Something that I really loved about this movie was the relationships between the characters. Rose and her sister feel like siblings to me. There are moments of comedy and moments of seriousness between them that are just so effective and feel very genuine. That being said, this is not a dark comedy. I don't really like dark comedies personally, and there were moments in this film that were funny and that broke the tension, but they did not take me out. This is a film that I would say it tries its best not to stigmatize mental illness. There is one character that does exist to be the stigma. However, I don't even know that he was entirely necessary for the narrative. I feel like if he wasn't in the film, everything would have just happened the way that it happened anyway, and so I don't even know if we needed him. But that being said, this film was a lot more sensitive than many of the horror films that I have seen the past few years where mental illness is a big part of the narrative. And the only other criticism that I have for this film is that the narrative starts off so strong, and then in the middle it just becomes completely formulaic. I was simply not at the edge of my seat by the time we got to the end of the film, and I feel like you have to be for everything that happens at the very end to really have the impact that it should. And still a really good ending. I really liked the ending, but overall the middle part being so formulaic, it just kind of placates you a little bit, it relaxes you a little bit too much. My favorite part of this film is the being, the entity. It is honestly one of the scariest designs that I have seen in a long time. It was perfect for me, the exact kind of thing that I find very interesting and also very, very scary. And I really don't want to reveal anything, but it feels a lot like something else that we saw in another horror movie earlier this year, but only for a few seconds. I was not very scared by this film overall, but I was definitely entertained. It is quite a good movie, definitely better than what the trailer makes it seem, and it is a movie that I would recommend seeing in theaters if it is at all possible. I am going to give Smile by Parker Finn a 3.5 out of 5. I really want to give this one a 4. I'll give it a 4. I'll give it a 4. I think that it deserves that. I would say that overall the criticisms that I do have for this film were relatively minor, considering the level of entertainment that it has. I enjoyed it a lot more than I thought I would, and I'm very pleased. The past few horror movies that I have seen have been quite good. Thank you so very much for watching this video. Let me know down in the comments what you thought of this movie and what you think I should review next. See you again next time. Bye!